We're goblins! Space goblins! We're goblins! Space goblins!
I just wanted to listen to a different song. Might be time to make some new songs, guys, and try and figure out how to get this thing to work again so I don't have to still keep showing you pictures. Right? Anyways, it's Monday. It is the 18th day of August. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning here at Site B, 63 degrees and foggy. Because, of course, it is. I can tell it's going to be a weird weather day by my allergies acting up. It's time to open up our charts, take out our sextant, and take a look at all the tabletop role-playing game news stories that might shape the turbulent waters of our hobby this week. And thankfully, as of 9 o'clock in the morning, Wizards of the Coast hasn't done anything dumb yet, so we've only got 3.5 stories. So let's take a look and see. And none of them are really, oh my God, what just happens to kind of stories. Just, stuff going on. All right. So for anybody who backgird this thingy, the Cosmery, I guess that's the name they've settled on, the Cosmery Brandon Sanderson role-playing game. The first book is out. It's supposed to be coming out the 29th. The world that got kickstarted for $15 million. Backers should have received their copies right now. And I think the digital copies on drive-thru, I'm not sure. But anyways, yeah, this is the Brandon Sanderson Stormlight Archive role-playing game, fantasy, whatever. I don't know enough about Stormlight Archive to tell you, but there will also be a starter set coming out sometime in October. Which for $25, which will contain the usual stuff you expect in a starter set. Do we have any pictures? No, we just have this 2 guys in armor fighting a dragon thing with lobster claws coming out of its mouth, which might be a thing in that world, since I've never read any of the book. I tried reading a Brandon Sanderson book. I really did. But it was just so bloody long. It was like 3,000 pages to tell a story that could have been told in 100 or 200 pages. And I get that's his thing of just writing really, really big, chunky books. But, yeah. Also, Cosmery was the largest Kickstarter for a fantasy RPG ever at $15 million, beating the previous king, which was Avatar Legends, which, wow, that really ended up with a great gaming history, considering I got my copy basically for free. Which buggers the question, does anybody care about the Cosmery Stormlight Archives RPG? Is it going to break the industry the way people thought? Is it really worth $15 million? Is that $15 million worth of people who are going to go and get this game now that they've backstarted it and actually start playing it? Because that's a sizable number if every one of those people decided to run this game. If they just bought it because they were fans of the series, though, which I have a feeling a small percentage was, then I don't know. I mean, is this going to be the biggest game ever? Is it going to blow Daggerheart out of the water? Or is it just going to sit on the shelf gathering dust, much like my copy of Tales from the Loop? Which, is another game that sort of came and went. But I don't know. Because I know Stephen Glicker mentioned to me that he was going to cover this game, and he was really excited about it. So I will acquiesce to Stephen if he chooses to follow up on doing anything with this. I haven't seen any live plays of it yet. And again, I don't know enough about this universe to know whether this is worthy of a role-playing game. This does beggar the question, does every IP fit into its entire role-playing game system as opposed to just being a supplement for another game? The GURPS rule, the Everyday Heroes rule, where you have a core rule and then you have campaign settings, but are still part of that core rules. Like GURPS Serpers, which of course I worked on, so I have to mention it. It's not a complete standalone game. You still need GURPS. It doesn't need its own universe. It's just a supplement usable for the rules. Everyday Heroes has the Crow universe, right? But they don't need the Crow doesn't need its whole separate book. It's an expansion for Everyday Heroes. So is this something that deserves a whole system? Does anybody know what the system is? Or could have just been, hey, here's a supplement for another system that we think it works for, be it 5e or Shadowdark or GURPS or whatever. I guess it's the time will tell. Time will tell, ladies and gentlemen. Time will tell. But if you're a fan, it's getting its physical thingy in a couple days. We've got the second edition of Karen coming out. This is a role-playing game of classic fantasy experience. I think this is the one where you're in a never-ending forest, right? It's made by a company called Space Penguin Inc. So that's a great name for a company. Contains everything you need to play through the world of Karen, the player's handbook, stuff like that. Characters represented by 3 stats and a background. The backgrounds are the closest Karen comes to classes. 20 sounds like a lot to manage, but the backgrounds don't have the usual tapperings of classes like level progression or special abilities. Instead, they tend to give the player a specialized bit of kit that helps them stand out and play. They usually have specific consumable items like alchemical acid or herbs or whatever, and stuff like that. I don't know a lot about the Karen. I just know it's considered pretty decent. It's like, it's up there in the current, this is the game worth playing pantheon, Shadowdark, stuff like that. But they're having the second edition, and I've heard nothing but good things about the game, so it's worth checking out. Karen, second edition, coming out. Should be out by now. So if this is a, dark, twisty, simple fantasy role-playing game that tries to once again emulate the mysterious OSR style. Oh, the OSR got everything wrong about combat. Oh, the OSR this, the OSR stop, and there's no such thing as blah, 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 blah. Okay, but yeah, news. And finally, our friends at Game Workshop have announced another new game thingy product. This is called the Champions of Chaos. It's the new Warhammer Age of Sigmar role-playing game, taking time in the Warhammer Fantasy Age of Sigmar time period. If you're a fan of the Age of Sigmar figures and stuff like that, last year Games Workshop said they were going to go back to Warhammer the Old World and do fantasy. Then they proceeded to not do Warhammer the Old World. Instead, they did Age of Sigmar. So if you're a fan of Warhammer and looking to get into Warhammer Fantasy, I know Elven Maiden just started getting into Warhammer. Poor Elven Maiden's wallet. They've got a brand new game coming out, so it's a great time to start or to get back into it or to continue the story of Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Fantasy. Are we ever going to actually see Warhammer the Old World? Don't know. Is this really worthy of news? On a slow news week? Sure, why not? And finally, even though I'm not going to post it up because I just did a thing about talking about it 20 minutes ago in the previous vlog, there's another game coming out about baking. There's an entire role-playing game about baking. Everybody is somehow playing a character that is somehow part of a bakery. And they're doing baking. And I guess stuff happens. I mean, I just saw a French TV show called Crème, about a guy who worked in the kitchens of Napoleon as a baker, but was also a spy. I don't know if that's based on reality. It was badly translated. But the only reason it worked is because there was other things going on besides just him baking. It showed enough of the baking to make you go, yum. But then there was all the intrigue, the seduction, the action, the chases, typical adventure stuff you need to see in a TV show to keep you interested. Not to say that there isn't a fan base for baking, because look at Great British Bake Off and all the baking cake shows that are on. People like to watch people make delicious food in small chunks, half an hour, 45 minutes. But would anybody want to watch an entire movie of just a guy making a cake for 3 hours? Would you pay $13.50 or however much it gets to get into a movie now just to watch a guy make a cake? No action, no intrigue, no seduction, no romance, just baking. And then would you want to play a game where your whole life is baking, working at a bakery? Now, if that game included other things and baking was just, we're spies and working at the bakery is our cover. We're superheroes and working at the bakery is our cover. We're adventurers, but working at the bakery is what we do when we're not adventuring. The bakery is secondary to the entire story, but there's also action, adventure, plot twist, comedy, romance, intrigue, all the things that make a game or a movie or a TV show or a comic book work, right? But then why not just make that a module or an expansion for an existing game? Why make an entire role-playing game where you're just bakers who are also, but if they're not, how does that work? I don't know. I mean, there's so many of them, I can't really condemn it. Obviously, somebody thinks this is a market. This is what people want to play. But to me, and maybe I'm an idiot here, to me, role-playing a game where I'm playing a clerk at Starbucks or a baker or, working at Target is just like, why would I want to play a role-playing game where I'm an employee at Target? Not to say my life at Target wasn't weird, but I don't know if it's worthy of an entire role-playing game. But, working retail for a long time is definitely a lot of weird things happen. That could be a whole an adventure scenario. How do you stop today's scenario? How do you stop the guy who's trying to shoplift a carpet? Because that happened. I saw a guy working at Target back in my retail days. Guy tried to take out one of those gigantic carpets. I'm not talking like a small little bath carpet. I'm talking a carpet. Rolled up, tried to just walk out the door. A couple weeks later, guy tried to walk off with a ladder. Just try and get out. One time, a guy tried to walk off with the TV. Just pick up the TV and try and walk off with it. And as much as I hate shoplifters, it's like, I got to give the guy credit for trying. I mean, A+ for effort, F for thinking it through. And no one's going to notice me take this ladder. And of course, when the police showed up and we explained it to them, they did say it's the first time they ever got arrested somebody for trying to steal a ladder. So, but is that what the adventure is? It's just, what is this week's weirdness? I don't know. You tell me. You are the audience of which I preach to every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you tell me if you feel baking is worthy of the time, or, do you really want to sit down and role play employees of Seth's Co., And I don't know. I mean, maybe I should actually read what it says about the game instead of complaining about it. But just the premise of the game feels so weird to me. Why would I want to role play a campaign based around having a job? I have a job. Don't know. I'm just a small speck in the tabletop role-playing game universe. And a lot of it, even after all this time, still doesn't make any sense to me. But that's part of the fun, right? And, I guess, maybe, I don't know. I'd like to think so. See ya.
Roll the dice and ride the wave. Quest and dragons, the news we crave. Under neon lights we take a stand. Knights and wizards across the land.